Thanks for joining me today. What punishments or consequences can you use as a step-parent? Subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, and I'll let you know every time I post. It can be so really difficult as a step-parent in a step-family when the children are inviting consequences or punishments for things that they are doing wrong, that they should know better. Stuff that they may be blatantly disobeying you or breaking rules or being inconsiderate. Stuff that you would automatically feel was in your right to correct or to take some action about. And the thing about this is that you are probably quite right, that something does need or could be usefully done about this. What I'm about to say is probably not going to sit well with all of you. And that is that beware of going towards consequences and punishments. So what can you do instead, and why? Firstly, I'd just like to ask you to cast your mind back to being punished or being given consequences as a child yourself. And it doesn't even have to be big ones, like just tellings off. You'll remember it. It is a point at which you will not forget what happened on that day. And for a step-parent, those situations are best avoided whenever possible. Step-parents generally, and even though they're in the parenting role, don't automatically have the authority to do that. And so you are running a risk and possibly damaging the relationship with your stepchild in a way that can never quite be totally repaired afterwards. Now, some of you will totally disagree with me, and some of you will say, well, I don't care. If they're in my house and this is what they do, they're going to get the consequences if they misbehave. And you get away with it, and everything's all right, and everybody survives, and that's the way you manage your household. Fine. My feeling on it is that as a step-parent, you're much better to work only with praise and support. Now, this can be extremely tricky if the stepchild does virtually nothing right and they're at odds with you all the time and they've got other things going on and life is difficult. But I would still ask you to look instead of the negatives. I really would like to challenge you to find good things to praise and use positive discipline, not negative. And this might take an awful lot of doing, but you are likely to get better results than if you criticize. If you criticize, you just distance yourself from that person. And as you don't have the genetic connection, that split can be permanent and forever. So be mindful of that as a step-parent. Instead, try and see it from the child's perspective and give them the benefit of the doubt. And sometimes try and articulate what they might be thinking and feeling and expressing that, and then saying, so that's why you didn't do that. So you could say that something like, you must find tidying up really a waste of your time at the moment. And especially as you live partially here and partially at your other house, you probably don't feel any obligation to do any tidying at all. Is that right? And then you can, once you've expressed something from their point of view, you can then go on to say, so, I really appreciate when you do tidy up, etc. And try and build their self-confidence and understand where they're coming from and find things to praise. Now, many step-parents have written to me and said, I cannot find anything to praise about my stepchild. Nothing. And I accept that. And I understand that. And it is like that. And sometimes it's almost impossible to find good things to find, especially when they're annoying you. But you've really sometimes got to work on finding things to praise and getting rules kept that way rather than issuing consequences and punishments. Not good news, I know. The only way that you can give consequences is if you've got a house rule in place that your partner, their parent, fully agrees with, and possibly their other parent agrees with too, to help you. Then you can sometimes dish out a previously organised consequence for something they've done. So, if their parent, your partner, has agreed to the house rule and the consequence, and possibly their other parent in the other household also agrees with it, and something goes wrong and they don't do something or make a mistake, then it is sometimes possible to deliver a consequence. But I would really, really recommend that you don't rely on this or depend on it or use it. Much better to find things that they can do and make rules about those things and then praise them for keeping it and doing it and build the relationship that way. Then you can work with them better to introduce stronger rules, more along the lines of what you're actually wanting. And through a better relationship and praise, get those more difficult things agreed upon and operating inside the house. So let me try and give you one example. Supposing they're good at looking after themselves, they do their hair well, or look good leaving for school in the morning. They've taken time on their appearance. One of the things you could say is, one of the things I really like is the way that you always leave the house looking as though you've taken care of yourself and your hair and you're looking good. A plus, a bonus, they've spent time caring for their hair, you've noticed it, you've appreciated it, you've bonded slightly with them on that. There is a little rule in step parenting that says, say 3 positive things before you ever say anything negative. So 3 positives, 1 negative. So then you can comment on 2 other things that they do they do well, like the way they wear their clothes or the way they hang up their coat so it doesn't get all crumpled, or the way they look after their shoes. I don't know, something. Find 2 other things to praise. And then you can possibly say something like, I tell you what, when you're in the morning getting ready and doing your stuff, I'm going to put a small table here with a drawer in it so you can put your hairbrushes and your kit for doing your hair in here before you leave for school in the morning. And that way you can keep things all together and neat and tidy. So you've got them to clear away their mess before they leave for school in the morning. And then that way, when they do it, even if only some things are in the drawer when they leave for school the next day, you comment favourably and you say, just want to say, I noticed that you put your thises and that's in the drawer, and I really appreciated it because it just kept things from being in my way all day, and I appreciate that. And then the next day, you might find they've put more things in the drawer, and you can comment favourably again. I know it's only very small little gains for quite a lot of hard work to get them to do something you want them to do. But this way, you get more of what you want. And you get, most importantly, the better relationship with them. And that is worth a lot. We run workshops, sessions, an email response service, and we write booklets. Look at the description box below for links to our social media and website.